Raise it.
And then reach to your right.
Okay,
Wait a minute, no, get up.
thank you. Feel like an adult. Ron? Okay. This is the Chesapeake Beach Ethics Commission meeting of December 10th, 2019, beginning a couple of minutes after 1. The meeting is in order, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone read the minutes of the October 8th meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone have any changes or improvements or objections or any of that sort?
No change.
No.
They are approved. Thank you. Any member of the public wish to comment on the agenda, including suggestions of additional items?
Already submitted.
I'm going to add, when we've completed all the regularly scheduled work before adjourning, that we go into executive session to consider an administrative matter as allowed by the Open Meetings Act. All right, first,
Bill, is that the same as item F?
no. Oh, wait a minute, it is. Whoa, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, good.
Whoa.
We're all in the same.
We're all,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Sometimes I'm amazed by my own something or other. All right. Here's, Randy, for your benefit, we're going to be working off this paper,
Okay, thank you.
and we have two documents that have to be looked at. One is the ordinance that has been introduced, and the other is the document that contains our September 8th or our September recommendations. The sorry. Essential thing is that the town attorney made some changes in our proposed, our recommended ordinance. My opinion, most of them were beneficial. I didn't find anything substantive, and she's told me by email that she intended nothing substantive. I've identified them solely by, looking at the documents side by side. If we've missed anything, I'm sorry that apparently she did not keep any record of the changes she made. But we'll deal with that if somebody finds anything. I think it's essential that we, even where we agree with the changes, that we pass a motion that says we agree, so that when the town council votes on the substitute ordinance, it knows that that the document on those sections constitutes the recommendation of this commission and not something that's been modified by somebody else. So my first resolution I'm introducing recommends the adoption of the following sections of the proposed ordinance, even though they differ from the precise language originally recommended by the commission. The first is 25(3)(u) on page 7 of the officially introduced ordinance. Oh, page 4. I have my hearing aids in, but that doesn't help my eyesight. I believe the changes were just in the numbering of the subparagraphs. Right? Let's see now. Certainly there's no substantive change. 2512 on page 7. Yeah, see the sub numbers 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
She introduced that. It makes it just simply clearer. It's easier to read.
Yep.
2520 on page 8. She correctly, in our product, the paragraphs were numbered rather than lettered, and which set up the 8 letters make more sense. Any discussion?
No problem there.
Okay.
That's direction.
All in favor of the motion I read, which is the first paragraph of the
I didn't see one yet.
resolutions document, indicate by saying aye.
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 Adopted unanimously. Right. If we turn to page 5. Want to look at our text. On page 5 of our text as well. Look at W. Our text was copied verbatim from the state law. Right? So it has 3 numbered paragraphs and then an unnumbered final text, which somehow says legislative action includes introduction, sponsorship, etc. Town attorney suggested basically moving that into the first sentence of the section, which I think does make it read better. On the other hand, I think the text that she actually put together is a little confusing. But one thing we obviously, typographical error, she changed veto to vet, which unfortunately it could make sense in the context. So we want to correct that. But if you look at what I'm suggesting on the first page of the proposed resolutions, it changes the placement of the phrase non-action. Official action or non-action, including all those things.
But can we say that these things, doing something, introducing, debating, those are actions? Because
Yeah.
then
Okay,
I'm not sure that's right, Phil, because then we're saying action or non-action including.
all right.
So I think that was probably the original intent, maybe, that these things that are listed are actions,
Yeah.
but there may be some non-actions that relate to 1, 2, and 3 as well.
All right. Well, unless Mike feels strongly about it, I'll drop this. Actually, I should have introduced this resolution. Resolved that the Ethics Commission recommends revision of the first sentence of 25(3)W as follows, and in this text. Motion on the debate, I'm satisfied that it's unnecessary or actually would be worse than attorney recommended. Anyone? We just defeat it. Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, no.
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 Okay, it's defeated. All right, the next one is something we've never we may have discussed, I don't remember. On page 6, in 2510, which is not any change by the town attorney. This is our text. The effect of this upon its, well, the effect upon its effective date would make it impossible for our current attorney to continue to serve as attorney to any other board or commission or any other part of the town. Doesn't seem right or fair, so I'm suggesting that we have an effective date for this particular subsection. The definition of independent counsel be July 1st, 2020.
What that would mean is if adopted, that come July 1, I would have to make a choice whether I want to represent this body or the Board of Appeal.
That's
or
correct.
The Board of Appeal.
As opposed to making that fit, at the end of December. Equity here took the contract because it planned, a certain amount of work. And that, that shouldn't be changed unilaterally by the town without notice anyhow.
No, I agree with that transition time period.
And I should have, reading into the record, motion is resolved. The Ethics Commission recommends that 2510B be changed as follows. And in B, add the words effective July 1, 2020. Take out the words for purposes of this section. And then at the following the words is not independent, put the words back in for purposes of this section. That's the resolution. Does anyone have any further discussion?
It doesn't say or within the previous calendar year. So, I mean, even if you put a 2010, then within the previous calendar year, that would start on January 1st.
Here.
So it really doesn't get you anything.
Okay. Currently or within the previous, all right. I hear a motion to amend, to change the date from July 1, 2020 to January 1, 2021. And that's the problem. So January 2021. Oh, yes, okay. Then that creates a problem for Fred's law firm. That would create, the problem would begin on January 1st, 2021. What?
It would start on, on actually January 1st of 2020 would be the effective
Right,
date
'cause
when
it's a
independent counsel
Yeah.
would have to be. Because it says within the previous year would be all December.
Right, so here's, I'm
All
thinking,
of 2020.
okay, so if this section is effective on January 1st, 2021, Fred's firm would have to decide, since throughout the year 2020, his firm represented 2 different commissions within town. At that point, it would have to decide whether it wanted to continue either or not.
That's assuming that there was any representation of the Board of Appeals
That's right.
during that year.
And if there wasn't, then that just creates no problem unless the firm's also representing a member of the town council or something like that. But that's, all right, without objection, we'll change the date in the resolution from July 1st, 2020 to January 1st, 2021.
Just out of curiosity, how often do you represent the Board of Appeals or?
Very rarely.
I remember the last one.
I don't know, I was going to say within
I
this
already-
calendar year, for example.
Once or twice. If we have a particular case going on, maybe 2 meetings, maybe 3. But the cases come very, very few and far between. I think I've only dealt with 2 cases since I've been in the last year and a half. Maybe 3.
Yeah, it might have been one at the first of this year in January, but we haven't had one in quite a while.
It's really almost a non-issue, but I understand the concern.
So let's postpone that problem until the beginning of 2021. At least it gives the firm a good chance to decide its priorities and, right? If there's no other discussion, we'll take a vote on the resolution as amended. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. All right, we go to page 8. Yeah, this is not a matter of a big fight here. Our draft had in 2516A, the first paragraph on the top of page 8. It was introduced by the phrase appearance of conflict of interest, period. And then B was introduced with the word other. Overall section is advisory opinions.
No, I was just looking at that.
And we made a distinction between advisory opinions where it's an appearance of conflict of interest and advisory opinions where it's other. I think the headings are marginally useful. Taking out the headings doesn't hurt anything.
If I may, I noticed that you have a number of those proposed changes, and I think I haven't spoken with the town attorney, but my speculation is that she took those out because generally you don't have headings of subsections or subparagraphs. You only have headings, for sections, section titles. I think that's very well may be the reason why.
A problem is, it'd be nice if she told us that. What's going to happen is if let's pass this resolution is following text be added at the beginning of 25-16A in terms of conflict of interest. You make that recommendation, somebody in the town council has to move an amendment to the ordinance as it's been introduced. If the town attorney actually has a persuasive reason, and she'll state it, or actually, we'll work this out before the meeting. We'll send in the proposed changes, and we will comment to the town council or mayor. The reason she took that out was be inconsistent with how our ordinances look. In which case, Nobody will introduce the proposed amendment at the council meeting, or it'll be introduced and defeated. That's,
I was kind of looking just for consistency.
Yeah,
It-
and I do see a few subsections that do have a heading to them. So that may not have been the reason why. It may not be totally consistent. But I think the commission should do what you feel is appropriate.
my prejudice is we decided to put it, we had those words in. We're willing to make changes because, somebody says it ought to be changed for some reason. But stick to our draft.
That's fine.
So we're going to take this. First vote is on 2516A. Those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is 2516B, that the word other be added at the beginning of that paragraph. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Go to, also on page 8. Our draft was certainly imperfect. Page 9 of our draft. For 2517, there was a heading, an unnumbered heading, participation restrictions. Then 2517 was also headed participation restrictions. We were doing it all again.
Hey, Phil, I'm a little confused. I heard you say also, but are we referring to the same section, 2517, both places?
Yeah.
There,
Here's the ordinance,
okay.
and here's how.
Oh, okay.
Now, if, again, hey, I don't want to waste time on this. If we were doing a revision again, I would leave in the overall heading, participation restrictions, and change 2517 to general.
Okay, that's what you're doing. All right,
Right.
so we are referring to the same
Yeah.
section.
What
Okay,
happens is we have restrictions. 2517 is in general, and then 18
it's
is
specific. Gotcha.
conflicts, real property. 19 is specific business entities. But you see that, Mike?
Mhm.
Now, this may be where Fred's speculation is correct, that maybe the no ordinance in the code of laws has a heading, a numbered heading. But that, it would just mean, well, I don't care.
I mean, I kind of like the general and then the specific. I don't feel strongly either way.
Well, then listen, if we don't mind, it would just, again, it'll be a resolution that people can opt or not without. Fortunately, we're not in a situation where we were sometime in the past where we're trying to correct substantive changes.
Right, right, yes.
So the resolutions, first resolution is that the following heading be provided prior to section 2517. participation restrictions. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Notice that I'm not voting because I remember that the chair doesn't vote unless it's a tie. Then, next resolution is that the heading to section 2517 itself be changed from participation restrictions to general. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Here's another big one. 2521 on page 9. Not a change the town attorney made. Suggesting we add the word "or" after paragraph 1. So it says, prohibitions of section 2517 through 2520 do not apply if, 1, participation is allowed by regulation or opinion of the commission, and the word "or," the person is acting or participating in a decision. Right? That does not. This is disposition. Without the word "or," it might be ambiguous. Implicit that it means "and."
And, exactly. Yep.
Anyone have any problem with that?
No.
Motion is Commission recommends that in 2521A, the word "or" be added between subparagraphs 1 and 2. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
One is similar to ones we just discussed. Page 9, prior to 2523, put back in a general heading, other restrictions and prohibitions. Shows everything else in there. We had participation restrictions, general and specific, and now this is other restrictions and prohibitions like the post-employment contingent compensation. Resolution is that Commission recommends that the following heading be provided prior to section 2523. Quote, other restrictions and prohibitions, unquote. Anyone?
No problem.
No problem.
Those in favor of the resolution indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. All right, now, 2532A, page 13. Member of the public, actually, member of one of the other bodies, pointed out that the way we drafted it and the way it was left by the attorney doesn't seem to have a deadline for appointed officials. Even though it's obviously our intent to have, they have to file. So the resolution is that 2532A1 be changed by striking the word local, the third word, and adding after the word elected or appointed, so that it will read, incumbent, elected, or appointed officials shall file a financial disclosure statement annually no later than April 30th. Believe was our intent all along, and figure out how we missed it. Any discussion?
None.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
unanimously thank Mr. Getman for pointing this out to us. Next one is also came from Mr. Getman, 2532B1 and 2. Recommend that the phrase certificate of nomination be replaced by the phrase declaration of candidacy to conform our language to that of the elections chapter.
As ours was in draft, we got a recommendation from attorney to change from certificate of nomination to declaration of candidacy. And so what's been introduced, ours that's been introduced last month, that's what it says.
Sense to everybody?
Yes.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, now, next one is 2533A. A person pointed out the unnecessary work involved for appointed officials to provide all the information about real property that's listed in 2533. The date, when, the manner in which, and the identity of the person from whom the interest was acquired, et cetera. That language is absolutely required by the state as it affects elected officials. We'll see about sometime in the future, see if we can get a waiver or something, because it's silly. On the other hand, it hasn't been, nobody's really had any problem, but just a matter of principle, why do you have to provide any of the information? That detail, that information is not required by the state. Appointed officials. Suggestion and the resolution is this. Change the I'll read the new introductory paragraph of 33A. For appointed officials, the 33 says each statement must include schedules providing the following information. So then the schedules with respect to real property would be for appointed officials, the addresses of interests of real property located in Chesapeake Beach, period. For elected officials, a list of all interests in real property wherever located, and for each property on the list of an elected official, all that stuff that's required by the state. Recommending to the council that the appointed officials be required only to provide the address.
Guess I need some more clarification.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because it's a pain in the neck or it can be, bringing a whole bunch of people into, they have to provide financial disclosures. So let's start. The
I have
basic
another
thing
reason.
is, let me finish, let me do this. When we're reviewing financial disclosures or to a member of the public is concerned that the town has made a decision either by the Board of Appeals or elections or town council to benefit the official who participated in making the decision. Most of us, the largest asset we have is where we live, that real estate. Most of us, the greatest benefit that we could improperly get from the town is creating a decision that enhances the value of our real estate. So the address of property owned within the town is relevant to creating, seeing if there's a suspicion of wrongdoing. The rest of that information that the state requires is, on the one hand, for some people, it's going to be difficult. It'll be just work. And it adds no information that anyone needs to at least, raise a suspicion of wrongdoing.
What happened to be a property right adjacent to Chesapeake Beach, like in North Beach?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
that's,
that
yeah.
has a potential for financial benefit. Or if you're right on the county line,
Okay.
right on town limits.
But all right, so the basic problem is that for elected officials, they have to provide all this information for any real estate owned anywhere in the world, right? Absurd. We have one member of the council, had to dig out some information about property that he inherited in Colorado. Which is, we in principle, we don't want to require the appointed officials to provide that any type of information about property that cannot be affected by a decision of the town. Our draft had made the dividing line simply real estate within the town. If we want to reconsider that and say within Calvert County
Or adjacent,
within 10 miles.
located in Chesapeake Beach or adjacent, or some mileage.
That would be fine. Within 5 miles or 10-mile radius.
Either one of those is fine. All right. Limit of North Beach really only is about a mile. Along the board, from boardwalk. From
To Anne Arundel.
Neptune's to the next swamp is about a mile, but then it goes up the hill a couple miles. 5 miles would be safe.
I mean, for example, like when the sewer line came in, the properties over in Holland Point became sewer. So you have permitting that sewer line to connect into Anne Arundel County gave a huge economic advantage
And that was affected by our
by
town.
our town.
How far is Holland Point? Is that-
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, let's see here. Back to the draft resolution, which is at the bottom of page 2 of the drafts. Should have the addresses of interest in real property located in Chesapeake Beach or within 5 miles of Chesapeake Beach.
Or 5 miles from the boundaries.
Again, addresses of interest in real property located in Chesapeake Beach or within 5 miles of the boundaries of Chesapeake Beach.
when we say Chesapeake Beach,
Down.
town of Chesapeake Beach, or, because we got folks down there and
Yes, again. The addresses of interest in real property located in the town of Chesapeake Beach or within 5 miles of the boundaries of Chesapeake Beach.
That's good.
Um, Resolution is that we recommend that 2533A be changed as follows. Strike the first sentence. Change the second sentence to read, for appointed officials, official to officials, the addresses of interest in real property located in Chesapeake, in the town of Chesapeake Beach, or within 5 miles of the boundaries of Chesapeake Beach. And a new sentence for elected officials, a list of all interests, an S, in real property wherever located, and for each property on the list of an elected official, goes back to what we have. No further discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
aye.
All right, similar. 2533B on page 14, interest in business entities. We have the elected officials have to provide a bunch of information regarding any business entity, regardless of whether or not it does business with the town. The business entity in which it has a financial. We had proposed that appointed officials need to identify only business entities doing business with the town. But then they have to, with respect to those entities, appointed officials, like elected officials, have to provide a bunch of data, which seems unnecessary to a decision to, initiate a informal investigation. We need to know his name, identification of the entity, and we can check whether it does business with the town. And we can check, whether a decision to give that contract was made by the person filing the disclosure. So the proposal here is really it is, proposal here is to relieve appointed officials from having to provide any information other than the name and address of the entity. And then elected officials have to provide all the information. One, the resolution is recommend that 2533B be changed as follows. First sentence, read now, for appointed officials, the name and address of any business entity doing business with the town other than mutual funds, in which the filer has a financial interest. Next sentence. Sentence in the current text is removed because it's now redundant. Following sentence is, for elected officials, the name and address of any business entity other than mutual funds, regardless of whether or not it does business with the town, which the filer has a financial interest, and for each entity, a statement of. Further discussion in favor of the motion to keep
Aye.
us. 2535 on page 16. Typographical error we were responsible for. As the commission may assess a late fee of $2 per day for failure to timely filed. Motion is the Ethics Commission recommends that 2535, the word filed be changed to file. No discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. 2539B, page 17. In physically show it. This paragraph, 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha.
3 ought to be a separate
Yep.
paragraph.
Thank you.
One, two, three. 3 should be a separate paragraph.
And I think there should be the word "and" after 2.
Or deems, boy. Yes, does anyone, I certainly agree with that.
If that makes it consistent with what the state was.
See that?
Yes.
And certainly, again, it's the same type of thing I was talking about in an earlier section. We need to be clear whether it's and or. Solution is the Ethics Commission recommends that 2539B2, the word and be added after the conclusion of the sentence that is Roman numeral 2, and that the material beginning with Roman numeral 3 be formatted as a separate subparagraph. These, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I will draft a transmission, I guess addressed to the mayor. And the most efficient thing would be, I would draft a transmission to the mayor that's in the format of amendments to the pending ordinance, proposed ordinance, and the town attorney could then review that for format, put it in the correct format. That would be. They meet, today's the 10th,
Yes.
they meet the 19th, I believe.
19th, yep.
I'll get a draft to everybody there tomorrow, or the next day. All right. The next thing on the agenda is suggested changes in the commission's rules of procedure. Did I by any chance send a draft? Changes in rules of procedure?
Not that I
don't
remember.
believe-
Remember that.
Right, so I'm going to hand, we can't consider them.
Something to read over the holidays.
Yeah.
Light rating?
Thank you.
I don't, all right, now, our current rules say that, and it makes sense, can't be adopted at the meeting at which they were introduced. So I'm going to introduce these. That doesn't mean we have to vote on them at the next meeting. We can, and actually, more than anything else, I'd like to do the same thing I did, which is just read through the current rules and in light of our experience. And certainly, there's room for improvement. Randy, thank you. By the way, Randy, can I ask you, do those changes satisfy you? Okay, great. You know, okay.
Sorry about
Think-
the declaration of candidacy.
I mean, this is
I
so
see
much.
You guys have changes too.
Yeah.
We had those changes that occurred after I had
Oh, that's,
inputted the first time.
we would be just more productive and better productive if everyone else in the town government would, you know, take this as seriously as your group does.
Glad I could help.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to give any overview as to what you were trying to accomplish? Number one. Number two, would you like me to review these as well?
Yes, yes. No, I mean, I don't, I cross out things that didn't seem to fit or don't fit anymore.
Okay.
I don't think we added anything or very much.
Is it housekeeping, basically?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we
And now
we
we're,
adopted these before we
oh, yes,
had any meetings or anything.
now we're a little smarter.
And yeah, or, yeah, knowledgeable about
Yep.
what we're doing. But I know that, you know, past year or two, I've made mental notes. Got to change that. That's a pain in the neck.
Mhm.
I recovered all my mental notes on it. I'm surprised it's so good, you know, that we're,
Well, do we have anything about like, in case like Ingrid's traveling or I'm traveling? What we can do if, you know, we're not physically present here? Do
no,
we need to say something here about
yes,
that?
yeah. I mean, that's a very good example of, we need, that ought to be addressed one way or another. Either we have participation long distance or we bar it.
I think that it would be prohibited unless it's expressly authorized by the commission.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So we've had, that's the sort of thing that ought to be in these rules, one way or another. So there'll be, we do not make a decision based on the controversy of the moment.
And for some of the other bodies that I work with, I put together a protocol for remote participation. If the commission decides that they would like to consider remote participation as opposed to just prohibiting it,
Mhm.
then I'll be happy to share the protocols that I developed. And either if you adopt, revise, or
Yeah.
reject.
That would be perfect. Send them and we'll either adopt, revise, or reject. Anything else? If you guys would just say it takes about 10 minutes to read through line by line and see what strikes you as clear or unnecessary, or like Mike just made. You don't have anything here about remote.
Mhm.
Before scheduling the next meeting, the commission will go into executive session to consider an administrative matter.
You probably want to entertain a motion to go into executive.
We have
session.
to have a motion?
Yeah, I think so, because you're weaving what otherwise might be an open session.
All right. Those, and I'll state the motion. Those in favor, the motion is that the commission go into executive session to consider an administrative matter. Favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, the ayes have it.